Hey guys, it's Dr. Justin Marcagiani here. Today's video is going to be on addressing mold and mold toxins, mycotoxins, in your home. How to test it, address it, and get rid of it. We're going to go into all the basics. I'm really excited to do so. And also, before we do, smash that like button. Really helps the YouTube algorithm. I'll give you a second. Also, put your comments down below. Let me know your experience with mold in your home, what you guys have done to test or assess. Really curious to know your experience as well. All right, so let's dive in. And before we do, I have two major podcasts on this topic. So this is kind of like a brief summary overview, but I recommend you take a look at the two podcasts. I'll put the links down below and the references so you guys can have a more in-depth window into the perspective on how we want to get to the root cause of this. This is a good summary though. This is the Reader's Digest Clip Notes version, if you will. So first off, how did the mold get there in your home? Mold's going to happen primarily in 2 to 3 ways. First is a water leak. So what happens is water comes in through the roof primarily. Could be a pipe bursting. Could be any of these different ways in how water infiltrates from the outside in. Good rule of thumb is have a good roofer every year or two. Give them a couple $100, have them inspect your roof thoroughly. Any potential flashing or areas where a leak could potentially occur, you want to get that remedied in advance. Again, a water leak can be devastating for your home, mold, environment, all that. So if we can spend a couple $100 and be on top of it, really will save you in the long run. This is going to be an acute issue, so we can see it with roof, pipe bursting, any number of ways water comes inside, or you leave the bathtub on, the water goes on the floor, goes through the subfloor down to the floor beneath you. All those ways are potentially possible, okay? High humidity. This is going to be, it's going to be very acute. You're going to know it, you're going to see it, right? It's going to be quite clear. The next thing is going to be high humidity. This is going to be more of a chronic type of situation. High humidity is going to be just, you have increased humidity greater than 50%. Greater than 50% means the humidity is starting to increase. Humidity is nothing more than a measurement of water vapor in the air. The more water there is in the air, the more mold can grow. Think of water vapor as the fertilizer for mold to grow. And then mycotoxins are toxins spit off by the mold. So where there's mold, there'll eventually be mycotoxins. Water that sits there for more than 2 days starts to form mold. So it's really important. The lower the humidity is, right, less than 50, you can actually have water vapor become, it's easier for it to evaporate, right? So when water spills, it's going to evaporate. When humidity is lower, when humidity is higher, it's going to just stay. It's not going to evaporate. So it's really important. You can have subtle mold issues in your home, in your house, when your humidity is higher. This is really important. This is where we have to get like a whole house dehumidifier, or at least spot treat it with a portable dehumidifier, and ideally hook it up into a pipe drain, because you'd be surprised. People that do these portable humidifier gigs, they're pulling out a couple gallons a day, and unless you're down there emptying it every single day, the sensor's going to turn off and it's not going to work for you once that sensor turns it off. So if you can have it go into a drain, then it's always going to be working for you and it's never going to trick off. Poor air circulation. So if we have outside air not circulating well, or outside air, maybe a lot of mold, you're by a forest, a lot of decaying leaves, all that's making its way into your home and you don't have good circulation, that can be a big thing. So you have your general HVAC and your simple air filters within the HVAC, that's okay, but having a good high quality air filter is going to be ideal. So there's a couple that I recommend. If you go to justinhealth.com/air, I have the Air Doctor there, and I'll put links down below for the Molecule as well as the Austin Air. The one I really love for mold is the Austin Air, because of the fact that it's going to have one HEPA. HEPA is kind of like baseline. That's important, right? A lot of good filters have HEPAs, but it's going to have, in the bigger one, it's going to have the activated charcoal, 15 pounds of it, and 15 pounds of zeolite. And so what happens is the mold will pass through the HEPA, and as well as the activated charcoal and zeolite, it's going to really pull down and knock down a lot of those mold toxins. So very, very helpful if there is poor air circulation and or there's just maybe small particulate in the air, it's going to at least knock it down. Now, a lot of times, if it's just a high humidity situation, we can get the humidity down, beneath 50%, and maybe the air circulation's enough. Sometimes we have to do more, and we'll talk about remediation methods below. So how do I test for mold? So there's a lab kit by Immunolytics. It's a 5-kit test. I'll put the link down below for that. And we do the plate test, and that's going to give us a window in assessing mold in the environment. So in the plate test, there's 5 plates. We put them randomly throughout the home. So ideally, bedroom, bathroom, family room, any area you have a sense there could be mold. Like let's say a basement, right? That's a prime area for mold, primarily because of the foundation between the outside and the inside. It can create a heat sink, and you always have higher humidity in the basement. That's why in my home I have a whole house dehumidifier that knocks everything down beneath 50%. But basements are common. So we may place these kits throughout the home. We're going to put them out for 1 hour. We're going to notate where the location is, and we're going to date it, and we'll send it back. And we can even do a tap test. So let's say we think we have mold on our couch or on our clothes because we see dust on it. We can do a tap test where we tap that plate up against that item for 3 to 5 times, close it up, send it to the lab. And again, this will give us a pretty good window. We're doing it for 1 hour, closing it up, sending it back to the lab. It's going to give us a pretty good window on what kind of mold we see, as well as potential mold toxins. There's certain molds, such as Aspergillus, for instance, or the Penicillium species, that are known to have certain mold toxins. And there's over 300 mold toxins, so it's hard to list them all, right? You have aflatoxin, ochratoxin. These are different mold toxins, and there's different species of mold that are more notorious for creating those mold toxins. And certain mold species, like for instance Candida, for instance, is known to be brought in from the outside, pets, and there are certain species that are known to be caused by water damage. And so by looking at what kind of mold we see, that helps us to know what the issue is. Very important. So we'll do the mold plate testing. That's the plate testing. There's another one that's a little bit more expensive. It's called the ERMI. The Environmental Something Mold Index. It's the one Dr. Shoemaker recommends a lot. It's okay. The problem is a lot of mold falls to the floor, and the plate, you place it on the floor, it can grab a lot of those mold particles, and it's a little bit more cheaper, a little more cost effective. I'll put the link down below for that. It's about 180 bucks or so, pretty cheap for giving you a total perspective on how much mold's in your home. Now, how did I treat the mold in my home? So I had a mold issue in my house. We treated it. Well, first off, we tested it. I knew exactly where in my home it was. It was in the kitchen. We tested it. Then after that, we treated it. So we fixed the issue, right? Minor leak, fixed it, no problem. We used the BioBalance essential oils to treat it, which is a combination of different citrus oils, tangerine, grapefruit, various orange, lemon peel, lime. And these essential oils, number one, they're natural, right? Number two, they have a really good effect on knocking down that mold and not creating secondary dangerous metabolites. Other compounds like concrobium or ozone, for instance, they're notorious for creating more secondary metabolites. They may knock the mold down, but if you are very environmentally sensitive and you're having a lot of coughing or sneezing or weird neurological issues or chronic fatigue or sinus drainage issues, these are the common symptoms of mold and mycotoxicity. And if you're genetically sensitive, you may express, and you may express more with these secondary metabolites with some of these concrobium or ozone, or there's even enzymes that are out too, better, but a lot more expensive. So you may have some of these symptoms. And again, not everyone experiences symptoms with mold. All right, my colleague Evan Brand, a lot of symptoms with mold. Myself, not as much. So it's good to keep that in mind. Now, what we typically do is we're gonna hire a mold remediator, or we'll get good companies in to assess moisture. So we're going to test for moisture. We'll get a moisture meter. We're going to test the various drywall or plywood or flooring and see if it's wet, right? So of course we're trying to fix the root cause. Leak. If it's a leak, we're going to be able to notice more wetness. If there's not a leak and it's a chronic issue from high humidity, then we'll get a good moisture meter and we'll assess moisture via moisture meter, or we'll get a water meter to assess the moisture of the actual surface. So moisture meter is more environmental, right? Air, where a moisture meter for like a plywood or for a drywall is a topical moisture meter, and we'll be able to apply it directly to that surface and get a reading. So different in the two. Some mold companies will also do a infrared reading, so you can see heat, cold, and that could be an issue with insulation there. We may apply more insulation, or we may see there could be a leak coming in there, and that's why that temperature gradient is different. So we got to keep in mind all these different things. So hydrogen peroxide is typically how we're going to treat the mold. It's going to be the better way to not create secondary metabolites. So we'll do the 20% hydrogen peroxide. We'll topically hit that area, and that's going to allow us to kill the mold. And then we're going to use a dry fog solution of the biobalance. That's the essential oil I mentioned. The dry fog gets to about 5 to 10 micron in size, which will allow it to literally get in between floorboards. We can even put it in behind drywall, pump it throughout the whole home, even put it in the HVAC system as well. Therefore, it gets piped throughout the whole system. So if there's any mold in the HVAC, it also will be able to knock that down. So typically we're coming in hydrogen peroxide, topically hitting the area first. Well, first off, any visible mold, we're cutting it out, okay? Cutting out the visible mold, really important. And when we cut that visible mold out, that visible mold's gonna be cut out in a negative air containment. This is really important so we don't spread particles. Negative air containment, that's really important. We don't want to spread any of the particulates, so we cut out any of the visible areas, right? They go in, drywall, maybe floorboard, maybe behind the drywall. We're going to be cutting that area out. Negative air containment, that's basically sealing off the whole area, creating ventilation from wherever that area is outside, so everything goes outside. Number one. Number two, we're topically hitting the areas, 20% hydrogen peroxide with a hose, obviously the right equipment to keep yourself safe. And then after that, we're going to be doing the dry fog solution, and the dry fog is extra small so we can get into all the little places. And I'd say with a couple, 2,000-3,000 square feet, a half gallon would probably be appropriate. A bigger home, a full gallon, and you can do that for, under $500. You can get under $500 to $1,000. You can get about a gallon worth of dry fog solution and a dry fogger, and that's going to really help you remediate your home and have it not be too expensive. And you may want to hire out for all the other stuff, especially negative air containment, topically hitting stuff. You definitely going to want at least an N95 or a greater mask if you're coming in there, probably a greater mask that goes over your head to prevent you breathing in those particles. And definitely worth hiring a good company. Maybe you want to dry fog yourself, that's fine, but everything else, leave it to the experts to do after the fact. And there's also some different dry foggers that are more commercially friendly or even portable. So for maintenance, you can actually do some of the dry fogging solution if you're very sensitive, just to keep the environmental mold down even more. But hopefully if we fix the root issue, which is the higher humidity, and we have really good air circulation in there from an Austin Air or something like that, that's gonna help keep the air quality amazingly good. All right, this is Dr. J. I see lots of patients with mold issues, and with mold issues, we get adrenal issues, hormone issues, gut issues. There's a downward spiral that happens with that environmental stress, so we have to look deeper at other issues. Let me know. I'm available worldwide. Click down below to schedule with myself, and also enjoy the videos. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe for more great content coming your way. All right, this is Dr. J signing off. Take care. Bye.